Alien doctors replaced the human's blood with nanofluid. Make him strong enough to marry me, the alien queen ordered. Snow buried the frontier town of Black Hollow beneath layers of white silence. The western settlement sat alone between frozen mountains and endless pine forests, its crooked wooden buildings trembling beneath the howl of winter winds. Lanterns swayed outside the saloon doors. Horses stood shivering beside frost-covered troughs. Smoke rose weakly from chimneys into the dark blue evening sky. And just beyond the town gates, something collapsed into the snow. At first, nobody moved. The shape looked human, but only barely. The figure staggered once more through the blizzard before falling face first beside the wooden welcome sign half buried in ice. A long rifle slipped from numb fingers. Blood stained the snow black beneath him. "Someone's out there!" a stable boy shouted. Several townsmen rushed forward carrying lanterns and rifles. The moment they rolled the stranger onto his back, silence spread through the group. The man wore the torn remains of a military trench coat covered in frozen blood and ash. His face was rugged and half hidden beneath dark stubble, his skin pale from cold, his body built like a hardened frontier gunslinger. Old scars crossed his hands and neck like faded memories of war. But the thing that frightened everyone most. Glowing silver veins pulsed faintly beneath his skin. One of the women gasped. "Lord have mercy!" The stranger's breathing sounded wet and broken. Steam escaped his lips in weak bursts, while strange silver liquid mixed with blood along his chest. "Alien sickness," an older man whispered nervously. "Don't touch him." But Dr. Elias Mercer ignored them. The town physician pushed through the crowd wearing a heavy wool coat dusted with snow. He knelt beside the unconscious stranger and pressed trembling fingers against his neck. "Still alive?" he muttered. "Barely." The doctor looked closer at the glowing veins beneath the man's skin. They spread slowly upward from a deep wound near his ribs, pulsing unnaturally like living light trapped beneath flesh. Elias had seen battlefield injuries before, but never this. "He'll die if we leave him here," the doctor said. Several men stepped backward. "Then let him die," one replied. "That thing inside him ain't natural." The doctor glared sharply. "He's human." "For now," someone answered quietly. Another gust of wind swept through the town street. The unconscious gunslinger suddenly groaned in pain. Fragments of broken words escaped his lips. "Don't shoot! Children! Run!" Then silence again. The doctor made his choice. "Help me carry him." Nobody moved. Finally, the stable boy stepped forward first. Together, they dragged the dying stranger through the snow toward the small wooden clinic at the edge of town while fearful whispers followed them through the frozen street. Inside the clinic, fire crackled weakly in the stove while the storm battered the windows. The doctor cut away the stranger's ruined clothing and discovered injuries that should have killed him days ago. Burn marks. Plasma wounds. Shrapnel buried deep in flesh. And worst of all, a black infected wound near his heart, where silver veins spread slowly through his entire body. The doctor's face darkened. "Alien toxin," he whispered. The stable boy swallowed nervously. "Can you save him?" Elias looked down at the unconscious man. "No." Outside, Black Hollow slowly fell asleep beneath the storm. But inside the clinic, the dying gunslinger drifted through nightmares. He saw burning colonies beneath red alien skies. He saw soldiers executing prisoners. He saw terrified alien children hiding beneath collapsed buildings. And through smoke and fire, he remembered sparing them. The visions twisted violently through his mind while fever consumed him. At one point, he awoke screaming. The stable boy nearly dropped a lantern. The stranger grabbed the doctor's arm with frightening strength despite his condition. "They're alive?" he rasped desperately. The doctor frowned. "Who?" "The children." Before Elias could answer, the man collapsed unconscious again. For 3 days the storm continued. And for 3 days the stranger hovered between life and death. The glowing veins spread farther each night. People stopped visiting the clinic. Rumors spread through town. The man carried alien corruption. He fought in the outer colony wars. He had killed hundreds. He was already becoming something inhuman. Some even demanded the doctor throw him outside before the sickness spread. But Elias refused. Then, on the fourth night, the sky split open. A deafening sound thundered across the mountains. Every lantern in Black Hollow flickered violently. The townspeople rushed outside into the snow. Above the frozen valley, enormous blue lights descended silently through the storm clouds. An alien ship. Massive. Silver-black metal gliding through the snowfall like a floating mountain. Panic exploded instantly. Men grabbed rifles. Women pulled children indoors. Church bells rang wildly across town. The giant vessel stopped beyond the snowy hills overlooking Black Hollow. A beam of pale blue light illuminated the valley while strange symbols glowed across the ship's surface. Then smaller transports descended toward town. The sheriff loaded his revolver nervously. "We hold the line here." Snow swirled violently as the transport doors opened. Figures emerged slowly from the blue mist. Alien soldiers. Tall. Elegant. Armored in glowing silver combat suits. Yet strangely, their weapons remained lowered. Behind them came several alien doctors carrying advanced medical equipment emitting soft blue light. And finally, she appeared. The alien queen stepped into the snow beneath the silent storm. The entire town froze. She wore a long white royal cloak lined with silver fur that flowed behind her in the wind. Pale glowing skin shimmered softly beneath lantern light. Her long golden hair moved like silk through the snowfall, and a thin silver crown rested delicately upon her head. But it was her eyes that stunned everyone. Not cold. Not cruel. Sad. Lonely. And deeply afraid. The sheriff aimed his gun carefully. "State your business." The queen ignored him completely. Instead, she looked toward the clinic, as if she already knew where the dying man lay. "He's still alive," she whispered softly. Without waiting for permission, she walked directly through the frozen street, while alien doctors followed behind carrying glowing equipment. The townspeople backed away in silence. Inside the clinic, Dr. Elias spun around in shock as the queen entered. The room suddenly felt too small for her presence. Her eyes immediately found the unconscious gunslinger lying near the fire. For a moment, her composure broke. Pain crossed her face. Relief followed it. She stepped slowly toward him and gently touched his trembling hand. The glowing veins beneath his skin reacted instantly, pulsing brighter beneath her fingertips. The alien doctors exchanged uneasy looks. One spoke carefully in their language. "The infection has spread too far. He cannot survive naturally." The queen never looked away from the dying man. "Then replace it." The doctor hesitated. "My queen, the nanofluid has never been tested on a human," she answered without hesitation. "Do it anyway." Dr. Elias stared in confusion. "What exactly are you planning?" The queen finally turned toward him. Her voice remained calm. "Your people call him a soldier. My people call him the human who spared our children." Silence filled the room. Then she looked back at the unconscious gunslinger and gave the order that changed everything. "Replace his blood with nanofluid." Her glowing eyes softened painfully. "Make him strong enough to marry me." The storm ended 3 days later. For the first time in weeks, sunlight touched Black Hollow. Golden morning light spilled across snow-covered rooftops while melted ice dripped from wooden fences and saloon balconies. Horses breathed clouds into the cold air. Townspeople cautiously stepped outside, whispering nervously about the alien ship still resting beyond the mountains like a silver giant watching over the valley. But inside the clinic, something impossible had happened. The human gunslinger survived. Dr. Elias stood frozen beside the bed as the stranger slowly sat upright beneath the blankets. The man's wounds were gone. Deep scars had sealed completely. Even the massive infection near his heart had vanished. Only the glowing silver veins remained. They pulsed faintly beneath his skin like quiet rivers of moonlight. The gunslinger looked down at his hands in disbelief. "What did you do to me?" His voice sounded stronger now, deeper somehow. Across the room, the alien queen stood silently near the frosted window. Morning sunlight illuminated the edges of her golden hair while snow melted softly outside behind her. "I saved your life," she answered gently. The human tried standing. Immediately, the wooden floor cracked beneath his boot. Everyone stared. Even he looked shocked. The Queen's doctors exchanged uneasy glances. "The nanofluid integrated faster than expected," one admitted quietly. "His body adapted unusually well." The gunslinger clenched his fists. He could hear everything now. The ticking clock near the stove. Snow sliding from distant rooftops. Horses outside nearly half a street away. Even his heartbeat sounded different. Stronger. Alive. Dr. Elias stepped closer cautiously. "How do you feel?" The human answered honestly. "Like fire's running through my veins." The Queen lowered her eyes slightly. "That feeling will fade." But it didn't. Over the following days, the town watched him change. He healed too quickly. Moved too fast. Cold no longer touched him. One morning, several men discovered him outside the clinic shirtless in falling snow, while chopping frozen logs apart with terrifying strength. Whispers spread immediately. "He ain't human anymore." Children hid from him in the streets. Women crossed to the other side of town when he walked past. Even the sheriff avoided eye contact now. The gunslinger noticed all of it. And slowly, bitterness returned to him. One evening, he sat alone outside the stable staring into the sunset, while snowflakes drifted softly around him. A cigarette burned between his fingers, though he barely smoked it. The alien queen approached quietly, wearing a simple dark cloak instead of royal robes. "Mind if I sit?" He shrugged slightly. She sat beside him on the wooden fence. For several moments neither spoke. The western sky burned gold and orange beyond endless frozen plains. Finally, the gunslinger muttered, "They're scared of me." The Queen looked toward town. "They are scared of what they do not understand." A humorless smile crossed his face. "That sounds like something a queen would say. And what would a gunslinger say?" He stared toward the horizon. "That fear usually turns ugly." The Queen became quiet after that. Because she understood better than anyone. For years, entire worlds had feared her species. And fear always led to war. A cold wind passed through the valley. The Queen watched the townspeople moving carefully through the streets below. Lanterns flickered outside the saloon while soft piano music drifted faintly through the evening air. "They think I came here to conquer Earth," she whispered. "Did you?" She smiled sadly. "No." For the first time, she spoke honestly about herself. Her empire ruled hundreds of systems. Entire civilizations bowed before her throne. But despite all her power, her life had become nothing more than endless politics, military councils, and arranged alliances. "Everyone kneels for the crown," she admitted softly. "But nobody sees the woman wearing it." The gunslinger finally looked at her. For the first time, he noticed how exhausted she truly looked beneath her elegance. Not weak. Just lonely. "What made you come all this way?" he asked. The Queen hesitated. Then answered truthfully. "You." He frowned slightly. "You barely know me." "I know enough." Her glowing eyes lowered toward the snow. "Years ago, during the war, my younger sister was trapped beneath a destroyed transport." The gunslinger's expression slowly changed. Memory returned. Smoke. Screaming. Alien civilians hiding beneath debris. "You were there," she continued softly. "Your soldiers wanted them executed." The human looked away silently. "But you let them escape." His jaw tightened. "They were children. To your commanders they were enemies." The Queen's voice trembled slightly now. "My sister survived because of you." The realization hit him slowly. "She was royalty." The Queen nodded once. "She later helped me reclaim the throne after our parents were assassinated." Snow drifted gently between them. "You saved my family," she whispered. "And you never even knew." For a long moment neither moved. Then distant laughter echoed from town. The annual winter-ending celebration had begun. Lanterns glowed warmly throughout Black Hollow. Music spilled from the saloon while townspeople gathered around bonfires in the muddy streets. The stable boy suddenly ran toward them excitedly. "Doctor says you both should come!" The gunslinger immediately shook his head. "Bad idea." But the Queen surprised him. "I would like to see it." An hour later, the entire saloon fell silent when they entered together. Cowboys stopped mid-conversation. Cards froze in gamblers' hands. Even the piano player missed a note. The Queen no longer wore royal white. Instead, she wore a simple pale blue frontier dress Dr. Elias's wife had sewn for her. Her golden hair rested loosely over her shoulders, and without armor or royal ceremony, she looked less like an empress, and more like a woman trying to belong. The gunslinger noticed how nervous she suddenly became beneath all the staring eyes. So he quietly offered his arm. She looked surprised, then smiled softly and accepted it. Slowly, the room relaxed. Music resumed. Whiskey glasses clinked again. People still stared, but now with curiosity instead of fear. Later that evening, while snow melted softly outside beneath warm lantern glow, the piano player began a slow western melody. The Queen watched couples dancing quietly across the wooden floor. "I've never done this before," she admitted. The gunslinger raised an eyebrow. "You rule galaxies but never danced?" "Royal dances are performances," she said. "This feels real." He stood and extended his hand toward her. For 1 second, the entire saloon held its breath. Then she took his hand. The dance began awkwardly at first, but slowly they found rhythm together beneath golden lantern light. Outside, snow fell softly across Black Hollow, while inside the lonely alien Queen rested her hand against the chest of the human she crossed galaxies to save. "You know," the gunslinger murmured quietly. "You still haven't told me why marriage." The Queen looked up at him. Her eyes reflected firelight. "Because my people bond for life after sharing nanofluid stabilization." He blinked once. "What?" The Queen almost laughed softly at his expression. "The nanofluid inside your body is alive. It stabilized because it recognized my biological signature during the procedure." His face darkened slightly. "And if it loses that connection?" The Queen hesitated, then finally answered. "Your body may slowly begin rejecting itself." Silence passed between them while they continued swaying gently to the music. "So I'm dying again?" "No." She looked directly into his eyes now. "Only if you choose to leave me." For several seconds, the gunslinger simply stared at her. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. Small, warm, real. "Guess you picked a pretty strange way to propose." To her surprise, the Queen laughed. It was soft and beautiful and painfully human. And for the first time since arriving on Earth, she truly looked happy. Spring arrived slowly in Black Hollow. Snow retreated from the valley in silver streams while green grass pushed through the thawing earth. The frozen mountains surrounding the frontier town still carried white crowns of ice, but below them the world had begun breathing again. For the first time in months, children played outside without fear. Alien traders walked peacefully beside human settlers through muddy western streets. Horses pulled wagons filled with strange glowing alien technology, while saloon music drifted warmly through open windows. And somehow, the lonely frontier town at the edge of Earth had become the first place where humans and aliens truly lived together. But peace never arrived quietly. It arrived bleeding. The warning came at sunset. The gunslinger stood outside the ranch house he had been rebuilding alongside several townsmen when the sheriff rode toward him at full speed. "Ships!" the sheriff shouted breathlessly. The human immediately looked toward the western mountains. At first, he saw only clouds burning orange beneath the setting sun. Then shadows moved inside them. Massive shadows. One by one, enormous alien warships descended through the sky like dark iron storms. Their engines shook the valley. Birds scattered from forests. Horses panicked against fences. The townspeople froze in terror. The gunslinger already knew who it was. The alien queen stepped onto the porch behind him, her face pale with dread. "He came himself," she whispered. "The rejected warlord. The same alien ruler she refused to marry. The same man who believed humans were beneath alien royalty. And now, he had come to take her back." Sirens echoed from the Queen's ship outside town while alien soldiers loyal to her rushed into defensive positions. Human settlers loaded rifles beside them uncertainly, fear visible in every movement. The sheriff looked toward the gunslinger. "You got a plan?" The human stared at the descending warships. "No." Then he loaded his revolver. "But I got something worth fighting for." Within minutes, Black Hollow transformed into a battlefield. Wooden barricades filled the streets. Alien energy cannons were mounted beside horse wagons. Men carrying rifles stood shoulder to shoulder with armored alien warriors beneath the darkening sky. Nobody cared about species anymore. Only survival. The Queen approached the gunslinger as explosions thundered far beyond town. "You should leave," she said softly. He looked at her like she was insane. "You think I'm letting you face this alone? They came because of me." "No," he answered firmly. "They came because cruel men can't stand seeing someone choose love over power." The Queen's eyes filled slightly. Then the first attack began. Blue fire rained from the sky. Alien dropships screamed over the mountains while explosions tore through nearby fields. Horses broke free in panic. Townspeople ran for cover as enemy soldiers flooded toward Black Hollow. Gunfire erupted instantly. The western town disappeared beneath smoke and chaos. The gunslinger fought through muddy streets beside both humans and aliens. The nanofluid inside him surged violently during combat, glowing silver beneath his skin like burning lightning. He moved faster than any normal man. Bullets barely grazed him. He tore through enemy soldiers protecting civilians instead of hunting kills. The townspeople watched in stunned disbelief as the once-dying gunslinger became something terrifying and heroic. Meanwhile, the Queen fought beside her soldiers in flowing white armor, refusing to hide behind command walls or royal protection. Together, they defended Black Hollow street by street. But the warlord's forces were overwhelming. Buildings burned. The saloon exploded into flames. Smoke covered the valley beneath the dark sky. Then came the moment that nearly destroyed everything. A transport crashed directly into the center of town. The impact shattered nearby buildings. Screams echoed instantly. Alien refugee children became trapped beneath collapsing wooden beams while fire spread around them. Without hesitation, the gunslinger ran straight into the wreckage. "The fool's gonna die!" someone shouted. But he ignored them. Inside the burning debris, flames swallowed the ceiling. Smoke filled his lungs. Broken metal pinned children beneath collapsed beams. The nanofluid burned violently through his veins as he lifted impossible weight from their bodies. One child escaped. Then another. Then another. But as the final little girl reached safety, the building collapsed. The Queen saw it happen. Her scream echoed across the battlefield. "No!" The entire street froze as flames consumed the wreckage. For one terrible moment, there was silence. Then silver light exploded from the fire. The gunslinger emerged through smoke carrying the unconscious alien child in his arms while glowing energy pulsed violently beneath his skin. The entire town stared in awe. The Queen ran toward him with tears streaming down her face. "You idiot!" she whispered shakily. The human nearly collapsed from exhaustion. But he still managed a weak grin. "Guess I'm hard to kill now." The Queen grabbed his face desperately. In front of humans. In front of aliens. In front of soldiers and settlers and burning streets. She finally spoke the truth she had hidden since arriving on Earth. "I did not save him for politics," she cried. "I saved him because I loved him from the moment he chose mercy in a world built on cruelty." Silence swept across the battlefield. Even enemy soldiers hesitated. Because for the first time, this was no longer about empires. Or species. Or war. It was about two lonely people refusing to let hatred decide their future. The warlord himself finally descended into the ruined town shortly afterward. Towering, armored, cold-eyed with fury, he stared at the queen like she had betrayed her bloodline. "You would abandon your throne," he snarled. "For a human?" The queen stepped beside the gunslinger without fear. "Yes." The warlord looked disgusted. "He is beneath you." The gunslinger slowly stood despite blood running from his mouth. "Nah," he answered calmly. "She just finally found someone who sees her as a person." The final fight erupted beneath the burning western sky. Humans and aliens fought together as one. And when the warlord finally fell, the war ended with him. Days later, silence returned to Black Hollow. But now it was peaceful silence. Not fearful silence. The dead were buried together beneath the hills overlooking town, human and alien side by side. The clinic expanded into the first shared medical center between worlds. Alien technology restored damaged farms and railroads. Human ranchers taught alien refugees how to live on Earth. And slowly, the frontier town became something history had never seen before. A home shared by former enemies. Months passed. Summer arrived across the western plains. Tall golden grass danced beneath warm winds while horses roamed endless open fields beyond Black Hollow. Far outside town, beside a quiet river valley, stood a newly built ranch house with wide wooden porches and white fences stretching beneath the setting sun. The gunslinger hammered the final wooden plank into place while laughter echoed nearby. Alien children chased human children through the grass. Dr. Elias sat on the porch drinking coffee beside the sheriff. And standing quietly near the fence was the queen. No crown. No royal guards. No palace. She wore a simple cream-colored earth dress while warm wind moved gently through her golden hair. The gunslinger walked toward her as the sun melted gold across the horizon. "You miss it?" he asked softly. "The throne?" She looked toward the endless earth plains, then slowly shook her head. "For the first time in my life," she whispered, "I can breathe." The human wrapped an arm gently around her waist. Together they watched horses running through sunset light beneath quiet western skies. No warships. No fear. No loneliness. Just home. The queen rested her head against his shoulder, while distant laughter drifted across the fields. And there, at the edge of Earth beneath a burning golden sunset, the woman who once ruled galaxies finally found the one thing power could never give her. Peace. The war between humans and aliens ended not through conquest or fear, but through mercy, love, and a quiet home beneath Earth's endless western sky.